Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Blue Dragon 5 here.
And Jacob Weil.
And Casey.
It's time yet again to explore the vast catalog and find out what's a must or a bust on Disney Plus. And tonight, we're talking The Bad Batch, Season 3, aka the final season.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
You're
right.
probably wondering why are we doing this?
Yes.
Well,
okay, but the reason we're celebrating is because we did previously cover the previous 2 seasons, and considering tomorrow is May the 4th, we decided it would be a good time to send off the batch in a fitting manner.
There you go.
It's been a long ride with these boys and Omega.
Yep. So yeah, we wanted to make sure we made the May the 4th deadline. So that's why today early, Little Blue. Just I mean, it's tomorrow somewhere, so why not?
Yep,
that's true.
A lot of us have commitments tomorrow anyway, so today was the best day to do it.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so I guess just reflecting on some general, like an overall kind of like thesis on the last season from each of us here, before we just kind of have a little free flow conversation about about the last season. I've always loved I love the premise of the Bad Batch. I really loved season 1. I just love the idea of our defective clones being kind of exempt from Order 66 for the most part, and just kind of like being kind of our eyes into the big status quo shift into the kind of the in kind of the 3.5 setting of Star Wars, if you will. I guess maybe more like 3.1 or however you want to slice it.
And they're kind of like the A-Team Everymen of the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, so I love the show. I think it's a great successor to Clone Wars in many regards, like continuation, like where that story left off. The only problem I think the show's had, and this season kind of continues to have, is I think this show would have greatly benefited from shorter seasons. Like if this show had like a Mando kind of episode count, maybe like a hair, let's say maybe instead of 8 episodes, 10 episodes, but something in the 8 to 10 range. I don't know. I think they would have been able to make, like really condense things and really kind of make things kind of like, I don't know, maybe like fire on all cylinders plot-wise, because the story is great, the plot is great. I love where it goes. It's just sometimes there's like kind of like some fillery kind of segments where it's like, okay, here's some adventures, and some of the adventures are a little stock.
Like now, do you think the episode should have been like the same length as they are, or a bit longer, or what?
I mean, honestly, well, we saw like the finales like 50 minutes or so. So I mean, maybe give them a little bit of extra time if they need it, but otherwise, like kind of let it play like Mando. Sometimes the episodes are shorter, or more like the half-hour length.
Basically, as long as they need to be.
Which honestly, I mean, look, if I think a pattern would be like the season opener and the finale would be the long episodes, and the rest would be standard length. That might be a good compromise. I don't know. Maybe
remember the pilot was actually like an hour long, right?
That's what I mean. Like if you have like a length like that for the premiere, and then you have the finale be a long one, that would make sense.
My only thing is that like while I think that's a fair point, the Mando, especially like let's just say season 1 for instance, it has 8 episodes, but even in those 8 episodes there are still filler episodes. So I'd fear that if they did that for the Bad Batch, somehow they would still end up putting filler in. So like me personally, I'm fine with the 16 season episodes, although I think this season was 15, right?
I think they cut it down to 15 because the last episode was an hour long.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with the filler episodes, especially in seasons 1 and 2. I don't really think there was much of it this season, though.
Yeah, it was pretty densely packed this season.
Yeah, it was like we had like 3 arcs, and it was just kind of like boom, boom, boom. Almost reminded me of like the final season of the Clone Wars with like you had the one Ahsoka arc, and then you had the other Ahsoka arc, and it was just like boom, boom, in a good way.
I mean, heck, the first arc of the final season was the
Bad Batch. Yeah, it was a backdoor pilot. Yeah,
So funnily enough,
but yeah, I mean, which I mean, it was a great backdoor pilot too.
clearly.
Yes, I mean at the end of the day, with this season of Bad Batch, I think it like the series as a whole. I think it ended strong, but again, just in places maybe took a bit getting there. Just in places though, like overall, it was still a good experience. But honestly, with the Bad Batch, I still don't think the season's truly. It's kind of a weird thing where like it's kind of like it's almost like a first time you fall in love kind of thing. Where like the first season was a great introductory season for the show, for like the status quo. So I think it had a lot to offer there, and even like I think the filler was at a minimum most in the first season of the Bad Batch. Season two, we kind of meandered in a few places, but not a lot. And I think this season maybe we meandered a little more often than we had to. But again, I don't want to make it sound like it was like crazy like amounts of like filler or anything, but it was like every time they had a mission, like the missions did not have the zeal they had in the past seasons. That was like that's where I'm getting like kind of the fillery. Like we need them to do something so they can get the information they need to actually serve the plot. And it's like if you look at Mando gets a job. That's a fun side adventure. With one exception, people I'm sure would probably highlight. Maybe we didn't need Jack Black in space. I have no qualms with Jack Black in space, but I think that is the consensus. Of like some side quests maybe did not hold up as well as other side quests. But you see what I mean, though. It just feels like we didn't quite have like the fun, like the more memorable side adventures that we probably could have had with like all the A-team shenanigans the Bad Batch could get into. It's like you're in the jungle and you're fighting a monster, and what we're gonna do in the last episode, they're fighting a monster. That just kind of shows up, luckily.
So I would say this kind of reminds me of in the way that the Bad Batch has progressed in terms of its tone, very much reminds me of Rebels. Rebels didn't exactly have those fun shenanigans in its final season because it became a lot darker in its tone to conclude out the series. But I will say that like Bad Batch still remains more lighthearted than like the ending of Rebels. The final season of Rebels is pretty devastating all around.
I mean, heck, look at the first episode of Rebels and then look at the finale, in which is like, oh my god, is this the same show?
I know, but that's another reason why Rebels is one of, in my opinion, it's one of the best Star Wars things, but also I think it is the best Star Wars animated show. Rebels is so fantastic. The progression very similarly reminds me of like how The Last Airbender is, if anyone's an Avatar fan out there.
Yeah, I think Rebels didn't get its fair due for the most part.
It's so good. But with the Bad Batch, though, yeah, I feel like the final season was a lot darker in tone. There wasn't a lot more, and plus the gang was split up, and we had the death of Tech and everything like that they were dealing with. Which I gotta say, very happy that Tech wasn't one of the reprogrammed people. Like, I'm very happy that
I really thought they were gonna do that in the last episode. I thought that's
so did I, and I'm so happy they didn't though.
But yep, he stayed dead.
Yeah, which honestly, like,
meant something in Star Wars for a change.
I know, right? Because they recently, especially since Disney bought them out, everyone's fucking coming. Excuse my language. Everyone's coming back to life.
Yep. So, but not Tech. He's dead.
I kind of wish there was more death in the series finale.
I mean, Wrecker came close.
He did. I was really worried Wrecker actually was not going to make it. I was really worried. He seemed to be doing the sacrificial play.
Yeah, but I could have also seen Crosshair do that, which I got to say, Crosshair was my favorite character of the final season.
Yeah, Crosshair,
he had the best what?
Crosshair was definitely a surprise this season.
Yeah.
I loved Crosshair.
Okay, Dragon, what were you going to say?
I was just trying to say, like, I think Crosshair, like, the big scene-stealing moment of the whole season.
Which one's that you're talking
about? Well, I mean, I think my favorite moment of the season has got to be, the handcuff moment in the finale. Like, that's Crosshair's big moment. It's a perfectly composed kind of kind of like tense situation, and we spent a lot of time showing Crosshair's been dealing with like PTSD and his trauma, and like the trembling hand, and this is like the moment where every all the things of the show were just like are in conflict with each other in that one moment, and he just he does it like a champ. Like Crosshair has been like the Zuko of this series, and we finally gave him his big absorbing the lightning moment.
Yeah. I mean, it's a very interesting choice, which I feel like it could be very overlooked. But like, ultimately, the trembling with his hand, it's no longer an issue because his hand just straight up got cut off. Like,
Yep.
But yeah, he has really become a surprise favorite for me this season. And honestly, like I use this app called TV Time to keep track of all my TV shows. And almost every episode, I rated Crosshair as my favorite character of the episode.
Yeah, like I said, Crosshair definitely was a bit of a surprise this season. Like especially like you could feel like the tension when he was initially about to rejoin the batch. Like, will this actually work?
Yeah, which I will say that like I wish I would have seen a little bit more progression with that, because I feel like it was only really like that hesitation only really carried over to a couple episodes, and after that it was just like, all right, he's in. Like he's in. We trust him. Omega trusts him. Like we're gonna move on with the plot. Like I wish there was a fourth season of the Bad Batch. Like I feel like a fourth season could have actually really helped.
So that just seemed like I think he just like by that point had proven that he wasn't going to turn on them again.
I don't know. I think Crosshair, he was really able to shine last season. I think we kind of got a lot of we made major strides with him, like the big turning point episode for him last season.
I mean, like, even like last season, yeah, I kind of hinted like he was kind of like falling out of faith of the Empire.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, but that's the thing. He has a nice character arc, you know. His story makes sense.
He's like actually one of the best to undergo like a big character development.
I mean, well, that's the thing. I would actually make the argument that like he might be the literal most dimensional character we've seen in the Bad Batch series as a whole.
Well, I think he and Omega would probably be the arguments for that one, but yeah.
I mean,
yeah. I mean, with Omega. Oh wait, hold on.
That's in Hunter. Yeah, Hunter, Wrecker, and Tech. Well, obviously Tech did change, but he died.
Yeah.
And then Echo's like, I mean, especially Echo. He went through a lot of the stuff in the Clone Wars, so he didn't change much in this season, in this series. And don't get me wrong, Hunter and Wrecker are great characters and anything, but they didn't undergo like huge changes other than like caring for Omega and trusting Crosshair again.
Well, that's kind of my point. Is like Omega had a very obvious change. It was just kind of her learning and growing, but she kept the core of who she was remains the same throughout the series. Whereas I think I'd make the argument Crosshair actually did have the biggest progression throughout the series. Just like I would even argue once again, because we briefly talked about it earlier, but like, we talk about Zuko. Zuko probably had the biggest arc in all of like Avatar. It's interesting. It's like these anti-heroes,
Yeah.
And I think that's why, personally, for me, anti-heroes are some of the best characters you're going to get in movies and television, because a good guy is good. A bad guy is always bad, but the anti-hero is more complex,
Yeah.
Agreed. So I guess just to kind of start breaking down the season. So Omega, the opening arc of this season was Omega was basically I think she willingly, she kind of did it twice in the grand scheme of things. She willingly kind of went to the Tantus. Am I saying that right? Is it Tantus?
Yes.
Yeah, Tantus.
Going to Tantus. For Hemlock's big his big research facility, in which he's mostly dabbling in evil clone research.
For Project Necromancer.
Yes, which ultimately is basically the big Snoke plan in Star Wars for the most part.
Yeah, well, I guess it hasn't been officially confirmed, but yes, I think it's obvious that's probably what it is.
Yeah. And we've seen a lot of hints and nods. Plus, Mando, we saw what was growing in the tank,
Yeah.
and everything. So let's see. So Dr. Carr. So we set her up at the tail end of last season. Dr. Carr essentially is grown up Omega. She is like a basically
She's
a
another.
female Django Fett who was not stunted in the growth part.
Yeah, she's another. Like, was that revealed in the last season or this
Yeah.
season?
No, it
I
was
didn't.
really like she was at the
What
end.
was
of
it? Season 2?
Yeah.
I see. I thought back in season 1 they had. I thought in season 1 they had actually revealed that Boba and her were like the Alpha and the Omega. They were the original unaltered clones.
But then Emery Carr.
Well, you might be right. I don't know. They might have mentioned like the whole. They might have confirmed the whole Alpha and Omega thing, but I don't know if we. I don't think we showed. I don't think we physically showed her until like the end of 2. But I could be wrong. I mean, maybe she was there, but.
Oh well, no.
Like,
In terms of Emery did get introduced in the finale of season 2, but I was just referring to the fact that. I was referring to the fact that like it was revealed information that that's who Omega actually was. Like she was an unaltered Django clone.
Well, no, we knew that way back in. You're right. We knew that in season 1.
Okay. Sorry, I misunderstood.
Seeing, like the reveal of this doctor lady that's Omega growing up. Like that's like the season 2 reveal.
I just didn't remember if it was this season or season 2 that had.
Anyway, so so she's grown up Omega, and she's a she's a really interesting character. The idea she's the the conflicted kind of clone doctor, who basically is kind of like the kind of the older sister who is kind of following orders, but at the same time trying to look out for Omega,
and also kind of like following in Nala Se's footsteps.
Yeah, only Nala Se, she's a little more rebellious than Nala Se. She does something really really heroic at the end there. She saves all the kids by blowing herself up.
And Rampart.
Well, yeah.
What a great ending for Rampart too.
Yeah, he started all this, so it's fitting that he gets blown up.
Yeah.
It only like. Unfortunately, it's not the batch that did him in, but no, having Nala Se do it is pretty cathartic.
Well, he lived by the clone, died by the clone, so it's fitting.
Well, yeah, I mean, technically it wasn't a clone that killed him, but
well, no, it was about like all the cloning samples and everything. The lady who created the clone, so
Yeah, which actually,
Warp Monitor clarified there are only 2 unaltered clones. Emery is a modified clone like the rest.
Yeah.
All right.
I am curious about something. I was thinking about this the other night when I watched the series finale, but with the death of Nala Se, was she the last Kaminoan?
Remember they destroyed didn't they destroy wait, is it just called
they destroyed Topoka City.
Oh.
Nala Se brought her people's destruction when she caused Five's death. So this is basically redemption to stop Palpatine's plans.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but that's the thing. I feel like we don't concretely know whether all the Kaminoans are actually dead. There were Kaminoans on the Senate.
Well, I mean, at the very least, the Kaminoans that know how to do the cloning stuff, that just might be like a Kaminoan in the Senate, though.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's like...
They're not all scientists. They can't all be scientists.
Well, yeah, of course not. But I'm just saying, I'm curious if that was the last of the Kaminoans, because they're not really known or shown a ton, except for the ones that are shown in Topoka City for the cloning facilities.
Yeah, I'm sure there are still a few alive. I'm saying like the cloning facilities, all the ones that know how to clone are dead.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, Nala kept all that. Because I'm also trying to think, like, was Taun We the leader of the Kaminoans, or was she technically like the prime minister or head of the... Like, I can't quite remember at this point.
I'm unsure.
Same.
But yeah, I meant like Taun We was the first Kaminoan we ever got introduced to back in Attack of the Clones. And then she was killed off, I think, in season 1 of the Bad Batch.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, yeah, I was just curious. I couldn't remember. Like I said, I was just thinking about that after the series finale.
So we while Omega is kind of like the reluctant helper at the facility, she befriends Batcher. So we get introduced to our team mascot, Batcher.
Yep, final season mascot.
Yep. So I think the point behind Batcher is just to demonstrate just kind of parallel, what we're doing with Crosshair.
And the funny thing is, that makes yet another member of the Batch voiced by D. Bradley Baker.
Which is fitting. That's the requirement. All the team members, with the exception of Omega, have to sound like D. Bradley Baker.
Yep. And we're good. Then once again, he does fantastic as every single clone in this show.
I don't think he's doing enough. I think he should have played more clones. I don't know about you. They're letting him slack off over there. D. Bradley Baker,
It's like I know you've voiced every clone so far, but can you voice some more? Really?
I mean,
it
would be so cruel if they just paid him. Well, you're playing the one. You're playing Django Fett, so you're only getting paid once, buddy.
That would suck.
He is such a fantastic voice actor, though.
That he is.
Yeah.
It's like you can tell they're voiced by the same guy, but he just makes each one sound so distinct.
Now, if only we could have Doug Jones dubbed by D. Bradley Baker. Imagine that. Like, we have these two very highly talented, like the physical body and the voice. So imagine how unstoppable they'd be.
Would be unstoppable.
Like, there's a hybrid for you. There's a genetic experiment.
And give a body of Doug Jones, vocal cords of D. Bradley Baker.
Exactly. He could literally be anything. But that's okay. There's your premise. There's your casting for the Chameleon in the MCU Spider-Man. When we eventually do the Chameleon right, that's how we do it. I'm just being silly.
Genetically modified Doug Jones to have D. Bradley Baker's vocal cords.
Exactly.
All right.
Anyway, we're seeing again the parallels to Crosshair here. Omega helping an unruly but vulnerable, the unruly but vulnerable creatures in captivity.
Yep. All the other hounds, as they're called, I think.
Yeah. But yeah, as it's been kind of said, I've enjoyed Crosshair's arc throughout the series. Like the idea of this character's in conflict to the loyalty to his brothers, but more so the in conflict with the programming, and he learns the hard way in season 2, being blindly loyal to the Empire. Your good soldiers follow orders. It's going to get a lot of your clone brethren killed, and I think it showed that. And I like the ambiguity, though. There was that question of how much of that is the humanity in Crosshairs from the beginning versus the whole good soldiers follow orders program. Maybe it was the chip, maybe it was him, and then we kind of were living with that in season 2.
I do kind of like his response to that in one of the final episodes this season. It's like, depends on who's giving them.
Yeah, but it's kind of kind of a 3-act structure there. You have the ambiguity in season 1. You have we kind of see the answer in 2, and then we're reconciling with the answer in 3.
Yep.
Yeah. But I love seeing him touched by the Omega's just refusal to leave him behind. The fact that she came back for him and went out of his way to do that nice thing for him, that really ingratiated. That he was always against taking in the kid. And I love that he's really kind of growing. She's really growing on him, by this point. So that's great. And I think one of the best elements of the season was this episode called "A Different Approach," in which you had them kind of stranded on the spaceport with Batcher as well, and they basically, they're kind of they're working together reluctantly, and basically Crosshair's kind of taking a back seat, letting her, kind of try the non-violent approach for getting out of their situation. Basically, her using finesse versus his, his ruthlessness.
Yeah, she's basically playing these gambling games in order to get the money.
I forget if it's full on sabak or just something close to sabak.
I think they said it's sabak.
Yeah. So she's good at sabak, and that was a really good scene too with the Imperial officer. It's a very Casablanca vibe, where it's like, I'm shocked there's gambling going on in this establishment.
See, but I don't think it was. Yeah, and I know it was sabak in this season, but I don't think it was sabak in season 2. She was playing whatever their form of like monster chess is, you know.
And we didn't get Sid this season either.
No, but Sid was definitely mentioned, and Sid screwed them over halfway through the season when she was kidnapped.
Yep.
It's a shame, really, because it's always nice to have more Rhea Perlman.
Yeah.
Which it was kind of crazy that, like, Sid, screwed them over at the end of season 2, but then you almost get this, like, if I remember the ending of season 2 correctly, you almost get this sort of like, okay, I'm sorry, I was wrong, let me make it up to you. But then she just did it again in season 3, which I guess is very much in character.
Yeah.
Well, this time she was like basically tortured for the information. They basically mentioned that she was tortured for the information this time.
Oh, is that what they said?
I believe so, yeah. Well, at least it's implied, I believe.
Man, Filoni's got problems, man. It's just like, it's Sid betrays, never going to torture her. Yeah, because it's the last season. We go really dark with those last seasons, and when Filoni's wearing his bad day hat. Filoni's had a bad day, puts on the other hat, makes him suffer.
What does the bad day hat look like?
Well, it's basically like it's kind of like his regular cowboy hat, only looks a lot more sinister. Has maybe kind of a mouth with teeth on it. Kind of like it's black and red, has red like stitching on it. Like imagine Kylo Ren's mask, but as a hat. It's
like, Dave, why are you wearing that?
And basically, here's the thing: so Dave can take off his hat, and it's like a steel boot almost. So like, there's like the 10-gallon part of the hat. The innards of the hat is like it's metal. So basically, he'll do like the Kylo Ren thing where he gets to smash it against the wall. But it's gonna be fine though.
It's like Dave, calm down.
There are enough wolves in this. Look, we'll put the wolf clone. We'll put Commander Wolf in there. Okay, does that make it better? All right, fine. I'll stop denting the furniture. Fine.
It's like would an animal like a dog like animal be fine in this, Dave?
Okay, I'm going for the other hat. Keep going.
Like, what if befriended the batch?
All right, I'm putting it back on the hat rack. The evil hat rack.
Whew. Dodged a bullet there.
Yeah, it's always like there's a bunch of signs at Lucasfilm saying, like careful when Dave's having a Sith day.
Yeah, beware the Dave.
Yep. Okay. Anyway, so again, our Filoni flights of fantasy aside,
we always turn Filoni into this insane lunatic.
It's kind of a running gag. Anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have fun development with Omega and Crosshair. With the kind of, I just really like the idea of the standalone episode where they're really kind of bonding together. I thought that was good. So that's what I'm talking about. Here's the thing. So the momentum of like the first, let's say, 4 episodes. I like it. The only hiccup in that for me though is like, okay, the mission to for the rest of the Bad Batch to get a lead on where Omega is. It's like I like this. I like the severity. I love the idea that the Bad Batch that they really care about Omega. She's kind of like the little sister / kind of daughter figures of the group.
Even though they advanced age further than her, she was technically made before them.
Oh yeah, you're right.
But then they obviously matured and aged faster, but technically she was made before them. So
okay, well, the point being, their sister, their short sister. Okay.
I mean, so in a way, she's their younger sister, but in a way, she's also their older sister,
or their mom figure, I guess. So take it as you will.
Yeah, then it just raises too many questions.
As I'm saying, I think we should probably stick to the whole what it looks like on the surface there. Just kind of like the little sister / daughter figure.
I mean, she basically is like the little sister type to them.
There you go. The point being, I like the stakes there. I love that they're taking this very seriously. They got to find Omega. That's their imperative, and like they're making deals with I'm blanking on the name of the species, but the guy who lost the horn the previous season.
No clue.
The guy who lost the horn?
Yeah, the guy, remember, got his horn cut off, and he wanted revenge, and they make a deal with him, and that's where they get the information from.
Oh! I know who I can't remember their name either.
I don't know if it's like Crimson Dawn or not. I don't think so. It's something.
No, Crimson Dawn is a syndicate.
It's not the Pikes.
Yeah,
Right?
Crimson Dawn's. No, the Pikes have those weird, like, almost Fifth Element looking faces. But I think the Pikes are quite literally a species. Yeah, I can't remember what their name is, but
all right, anyway, let's see. What was I? All right. The point being, like, I like the setup of, like, okay, they're desperate to find they're going to do anything it takes, and then it's what it takes is like, hey, we're hanging out with, like, just like the rejected clone cadets for an episode. It's like that deflated some momentum there.
A little bit.
Yeah, I don't know. That's just how I look. That's just how I feel about it. I think, like, the whole, like, the point A to B kind of elements like that, or that's where, like, there's a bit of a deflating in, like, our really strong plot that I think we had going throughout the season there, where it's like, I don't need clone cadets or as many jungle adventures. I do, but again, I like structurally what we're doing, though. Aside from that, though, just like, okay, so this is what these guys are doing. Then we're going to check back on the escape. We're going to have an episode of development, and then we're going to get the band back together. And we're going to have to, kind of figure out how they feel about Crosshair.
Yeah, which is a pretty interesting kind of development there.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny how their bonding moment was yet again another giant monster that came because they turned off the sensors.
Yep.
Nothing says bonding moment like fighting a giant monster.
It works wonders.
Yep.
I mean, it bonded Paz Vizsla and Din Djarin. It's like, hey, giant monster is gonna eat my kid. He saved him. We're cool now.
Yep.
Let's see. So, Clone X. So the whole Clone X thing. The idea that one of the side experiments they've been doing at that facility has been basically rooting out the personality of the clones. Presumably, I want to say in response to the Bad Batch, but I don't know how long this program has been in operation. I mean, it could just be a heartless thing the Empire does, but it would also make sense as something they've done in response to the wild card element of the clones.
And what do you mean?
Well, I just mean, like, the whole point of this whole, like, the Clone X thing, you're just basically going to take the personality out of these clones and make them killing machines, make them, like, the perfect assassin. So you could look at it like, okay, so the Bad Batch has been giving the Empire, the business, or just in general, like any of the Captain Rex and company. So with our clones, we want to get rid of the personality. We want to just make them just mindless, basically mindless focus assassins, essentially upgraded versions of Crosshair.
Good soldiers follow orders.
Exactly. Basically, they want Crosshair, but without, like, Crosshair turning on them and killing their Imperial officers.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. It feels like kind of like I like that as an idea with Crosshair here, where he's kind of facing something that was what he could have been, at least what he saw himself being with the Empire. All right, we have some comments. Let's check out some of these comments, Jacob.
All right. Let's see. Where do you want me to start?
Well, Travis Mitchell says hi. We should probably start there.
All right, how's it going? It's going all right, Travis.
Hey.
Having fun discussing this show.
All right, let's see. More Monarch's been going on about some stuff. What jumps out to you?
It's like they didn't have a choice. It was either they're being hunted by the Empire to capture Omega.
Mm-hmm.
So either forgive Crosshair or fight and be captured. All that.
All right, let's see.
It didn't matter who those Clone X's were. They're just what the Empire intended for them in another pointless project in a long run of pointless projects of Palpatines.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, in the grand scheme of things, when you look at Star Wars, yeah, Palpatine's contingencies didn't quite have the lifeblood I think we all expected them to.
I mean, I think
not as super clever in the grand scheme. Here, it's so weird though. There's always that redemptive. Filoni's just great at redeeming any of like the weaker story points of Star Wars. He's found a way to make them even better, right?
Yeah, I mean, look at what he did with the Clone Wars.
It's just at every turn he's just kind of taken these aspects of this, we want to go somewhere with this, but when we've done it on the big screen, or when we've done it just kind of like, honestly, when we've done it on the big screen, it doesn't quite measure up. But the build up and just kind of like looking at like what goes into like the initial planning of this and like the intent, like there's a big redemptive thing on the small screen that Filoni's been really putting the elbow grease into, which is very admirable quality.
Well, and to be fair, in this series, we can't really place all that on Filoni too. Like, obviously, like the head writers like Jennifer Corbett, among others, have got to get their fair share of praise too in that regard.
Well, of course, I'm just saying, like like Filoni just kind of like was the initial guy through the door for that, but yeah.
I mean, like, we don't really bring up the other people as much, but like Jennifer Corbett, I believe, from what I understood, is like just as important to this show as he was.
Sure.
I mean, for all I know, like they conceptualized the whole outline together. So, but you are right, Filoni did get the ball rolling in that regard. So,
yeah,
there's a reason why he's now like one of the head creators at Lucasfilm.
Oh yeah, that's they gave him the big hat for a reason.
Oh yeah.
That reason was he refused to take it off.
That too. Like Dave, will give you the big hat if you just take off the flight suit.
I don't know, Dave. You're like the face of Lucasfilm now. Okay, we'll give you the hat. Okay, even Robert Rodriguez wears the hat. We'll give you the hat. Just
It's like Dave,
you're not filming. Take off the flight suit.
Dave, you're scaring us.
Well, it's going to be scarier if I take the flight suit off. Why? I'm not wearing anything underneath. Okay, maybe keep it on for a while, Dave.
Just go home and take it off. Just go home, change, come back here, and we'll give you the hat. It's like, why do we do this to Filoni? What did he do to deserve this?
He didn't give us a conclusive enough ending on Ahsoka.
Well, I mean, we're getting a season 2 of that, right?
That's what it sounds like. Is that a fully official? Do you know?
That's what I've heard. I mean, I don't think it's.
Oh, they said that.
I mean, I don't think it's been officially announced yet, but for all I know, I think it's basically a guaranteed thing.
Well, even so, not giving us a simple enough ending with Ray Stevenson's character—that's enough,
Well, that's not his fault, though.
Yeah, but he left it really vague with that last shot.
Like, well, there's obviously meant to be filled since Ray Stevenson is going to still be alive, hopefully.
Yeah.
And I think we were doing this to Dave long before we came on to Ahsoka.
All right. Anyway.
Yeah.
So, let's see. So I wanted a big kind of MVP scene of the season here. Not counting with the awesome bit that Crosshair has in the climax, but I think one of the best scenes of the whole. It's one of probably a top 5 for the whole series. But I mean, this is a really good scene. Rex and the Bad Batch at the end of the Extraction episode. They are confronted by Wolf. Filoni's favorite, I'm sure.
It's like, yeah. And then then Wolf lets them go.
Yeah, but seriously, I love everything about this scene. I love Rex. He's catching up with it's such a perfect scene. He's catching up with an old friend, this really awkward moment. And it's a reunion with them while they're on opposite sides. There is that kind of clone brotherhood thing that's going on here. It's just the fact that he reaches Wolf by telling him, what the Empire has been doing to the clones, and it buys him just enough goodwill to let him go. And it's just really, I love the detail of, because other clones had kind of died throughout the episode, and after they go, it's like Wolf's ordering the men to, like, okay, gather the dead, and we'll, they essentially gather the dead, and we'll bury him. I think it's
but sir, they're traitors.
But the clones first. Something along those lines. But yeah, I love the whole honor code amongst the clones. And this is what I was getting at earlier with Filoni. That Filoni's best move, I know is Filoni and a bunch of other, really great creatives. I'm just saying Filoni's the one who, wears the hat and he's the running gag and he's like the namesake. We're just going to say Filoni, but he's an umbrella. He's an umbrella with a big hat. Regardless, Filoni's best move in all of Star Wars, second to probably possibly the creation of Ahsoka, just the character. But so let's just say one of Filoni's best the thing he's going to be remembered for, I feel, at Star Wars, like the big contribution he had, was turning the handicap of dime a dozen clone troopers, which was always kind of like I'm not going to say a failing, but it was always sort of like, I think something that held back the prequels. In that you kind of like the mystery's kind of gone. We have the clone thing, but the clone thing just felt very much like, how can we get stormtroopers early? Well, they're going to be clones. That's how we're going to have like an army of them, and it'll be like an instant, like we're going to flip a switch, they're going to turn bad. That's how we get it. It felt very plotty. And how do we make them special? And basically, Filoni's the one who really. I mean, I'm not saying we didn't have like we had like the captain. You had your Captain Rexes and your Codys. Don't get me wrong, but he really made them pop. He really developed these characters. It's the fact that he had the idea that we're going to make you invest in the clones and basically working off the sense of there's a sense of brotherhood genetically amongst these guys. So they're all like related. They're all family from the get go, but it's like a twins phenomenon, only like in a more infinite sense. Like they're all twins, but they're all differentiating themselves. And they know they're expendable. Like he made the idea of the clone interesting. It's like living with the knowledge of you're brainwashed into committing like a genocide of the Jedi who are your former allies, and then there's like a hierarchy with like how we're shunning the Bad Batch, and like the whole like the regs and the defectives, and it just all of this is at the end of the day with what he and his team kind of did with like and just kind of making this seemingly just boring aspect of Star Wars actually really interesting and varied. It really makes you want to see like what Filoni would do with like the Clone Saga from Spider-Man, doesn't it?
Kinda, yeah.
Just to some level, it makes you think he really like this man knows how to make a clone story interesting and not just like a really like a dime a dozen thing you've seen before.
Yeah, I mean, it would be kind of interesting take to see him do that kind of thing, but who knows how into Marvel he actually is.
Yeah. Well, regardless, you see what again, just with that scene though, just with Rex and just kind of like taking a moment to examine like the relationship between the clones and how it is a brotherhood, even if they are on kind of are on different sides of the conflict there. I mean, that was such an interesting and such a well crafted scene in this series for me, and I love they kind of were able to get more of those in there for this last season.
Yeah. Would have been nice.
Yeah. All right. So again, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but it's like so our character returns are great. Like we had a lot of fun, like returning characters. Like your Fennec Shans, for example. We put her in the first season. We brought her back here.
Yep, like even like bridging the continuity there with her being like originally being after Echo, and now they need help on like what is an M count and why are they after Echo? Why after Omega?
I love how they just called an M count though.
Yeah, the whole thing with the whole medical. So basically, our big reveal with Omega, it seems, is she has a high midichlorian count. More so, it sounds like she's a way of bridging the basically. It sounds like her blood might hold the secrets to basically transferring an M count to a clone body. That's the main. It seems it's less the fact she has a high M count. It seems the fact she might be able to transfer those credits.
Yeah, some sort of catalyst.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like pretty much everything with Omega's blood, Omega's genetics, and Project Necromancer, they never truly touched upon any of it. But I think that's very purposeful because obviously that's feels like what the Mandoverse is kind of leading to with the Empire remnants.
Yeah. See, that's the interconnected thread I'm liking with all of our Star Wars shows we're doing now. Yeah. And it's kind of like our commenter pointed out earlier. It's interesting that again, like our setup for Palpatine's contingencies and like the projects, like Project Necromancer and everything, that's all really interesting. But unfortunately, our payoff, as we know, it's more like a good in concept kind of thing. It's just the end result might not be, spectacular.
Yeah.
I know they would never do it. Like, I think, not to get super off topic, but like, I think there are merits to the sequel trilogy, but I do ultimately think, especially with what they've established in the Mandoverse and some of these, animated shows, like, I kind of actually wish they would redo it and or get rid of it. Because I think of what they're setting up for these other shows is a hell of a lot better storytelling and more enticing than those movies ended up being. And I don't blame any of the actors for it. You can't blame any of the actors for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, when you look at Mando, and particularly when you look at the Clone Wars and Bad Batch and everything, it just reminds me that I don't. Sorry, they're basically doing. It reads like they're doing kind of like a soft reboot, but like a gentle reboot. That's kind of like the right direction to go in, where it's like Filoni's redeemed elements that we're kind of stuck with in Star Wars. That's as I've been kind of going on about that's kind of like what his legacy really is. He's improved upon the weaker columns of the Star Wars universe, and it does feel like I don't know, presumably under his leadership going forward, there's a chance that maybe we could, I don't know if we're going to necessarily fix everything, but we could get things in fighting shape, and maybe have it kind of be a lot more acceptable than the fan response has been to the sequel trilogy. It feels like, I don't know how he does it. I don't know, but it feels like we shouldn't underwrite what we got. I mean, we got what we got. We're kind of stuck with it, but maybe we can kind of make it a little better with the supplemental stuff we're doing now, or something.
Yep.
I mean, plus, I mean, look, I'm not trying to use an end all be all cure or anything, but we did introduce time travel in Star Wars one time. And it was a big plan of Palpatine's. And it does feel like, I don't know, if we were to make slight alterations, that might be a way of going about it. I'm not saying that's a perfect solution, but it is it's something to consider.
Where was the time travel?
In
Rebels with Ahsoka.
Yeah, that was and we glimpsed it in Ahsoka, but we saw it. Well, sorry, yeah, you're right, with Ahsoka, but yeah, we did that with Ahsoka, and we also kind of homaged it in the Ahsoka show. But again, in Rebels is when we full on did we showed time travel was a big thing. Palpatine was trying to harness.
Oh yeah,
and it saved Ahsoka's life, so it was important.
Yeah.
So yeah, that could be pulled off, but I doubt they're gonna pull that route.
That's what I'm saying. In universe, it feels like there's a slim chance they could they could pull essentially an in-universe endgame of sorts to maybe straighten, fix some of the weaker aspects of Star Wars. But we're not really here to talk about that right now. We're here just mainly to talk about just
Bad Batch,
the Bad Batch. So, so that's the thing. So again, we have some returning characters that make sense. You got a little bit of Cad Bane in there, Asajj Ventress. We did some good stuff with her.
Yeah.
Which was a really cool tease, but ultimately didn't really amount to too much.
Well, basically, we used her to kind of confirm that, the girl is force sensitive, and there's some potential there. But as long as she's with you guys, she's not really going to do that.
Yeah. It was kind of an interesting reveal, though, Asajj Ventress with hair.
Yeah, and the yellow lightsaber. I like that we're kind of building a pattern on the yellow, the whole after you go through this transformative kind of arc, you get the other lightsaber color, which in this case is yellow, kind of like Rey's.
Yeah. And it's everyone's it's red means it's evil, green and blue have their own meanings. Mace Windu got purple because Samuel L. Jackson wanted a purple lightsaber.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the kind of canon reason, because he wanted one.
Yellow's kind of the shoulder shrug. Yellow's just kind of all right.
All right, we don't not a Jedi or a Sith, so here you go.
Well, again, in all seriousness, it's more of we're walking our own path. That's kind of what the yellow. I believe that's what the yellow. Maybe not full on is what it signifies. That's what it feels like it signifies. Yellow is you're walking your own path.
It's not Jedi or Sith anyway.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Yeah. Anyway, let's see.
Speaking of which, giant monster again.
Oh yeah.
It's a recurring theme this season.
And she kind of calms it How to Train Your Dragon style with the Force.
For a moment, I was kind of hoping that it wouldn't work.
Yeah, but she'd have to be evil for that to,
I know, but I was like, It's like, oh, come on, prove Hunter right. I was like, but nope. I was like, it was kind of nice to see her just actually tame the beast and prove that, yeah, she's not really that evil anymore.
Yeah, we saw Baby Yoda do it with the Rancor, so it's a proven thing. We've soothed the savage beast.
I mean, we've seen that plenty of times throughout
Yeah.
the history of Star Wars. I mean, that was also one of the big moments back in season 2 of Rebels with Ezra. I think it was season 2.
And the wolves, yeah.
Well, that was in season 4, but I'm talking about when they were in the hangar bay and he was soothing the bat monster.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I mean that's been a pretty proven thing. It's like this communion with wild animals. But I think the whole thing with Asajj doing it, and like us realizing that Asajj isn't evil. Well, I think Asajj was very similar to Maul. She was manipulated into doing really bad things, but the big difference is Asajj moved on with her life. Maul never did, and it consumed him. And that's like the great tragedy of Maul.
He's like, you know who he got obsessed with.
Oh, you're saying Maul?
Yeah, you know who.
Yeah, he got obsessed with Obi-Wan. Yeah.
He's like, Kenobi.
That's what he was building to. Yeah, just like that.
He wanted to just yell Kenobi.
I wanted one of you guys to yell Kenobi, but
I'm not really yelling shit right now, Jacob. You're gonna have to do Kenobi.
Yeah, I can't do Sam justice. That line is great.
he's like, Kenobi. How's that?
There you go.
All right.
I also wanted to bring up, and I don't know if you guys saw my comment earlier. I got to my house, so I was like kind of out of the stream for like 10 minutes.
Yeah,
But speaking of characters who we got to see this season, now this might go over some people's head, but we got to see Scorch, and unfortunately the death of Scorch. But it was still really cool to see him.
Let's not talk about characters that we did see. Let's talk about characters we didn't see. Jacob, who didn't we see this season?
Well, first off, we didn't see Sid.
Okay, come on, man. You know who I'm talking about. Who did we not see?
I know exactly who we did. Hondo.
Yeah, Hondo yet again was missing. This is the last shot for him. So that was sad that we got. I did not want Wanda Sykes as our pirate in this show, man. I wanted Hondo.
And Filoni never called.
And it was like the easiest thing to introduce Hondo here too. Is he knows Sid. That's all you need.
Well, Filoni never called, so I didn't call my agent, so I never showed up.
Dave.
Dave?
Give us the flight suit. When you're not wearing it.
But only he never called. I would have been happy to show up, but only apparently had other plans.
He said he wanted to buy a new hat, so he used the money that was supposed to hire him to buy a new hat.
This effort is no longer profitable.
Yep.
I don't know when I'll ever appear again now.
Yeah, it seems like our hopes and dreams of like Hondo showing up and things is kind of dashed. It seems like if Hondo's going to show up ever again, it's going to be in that big crossover movie.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
But I can't confirm or deny that one.
If he doesn't show up in that or Ahsoka season 2, there's no hope.
I gotta be honest, I don't know if I want to see Hondo in live action.
Why not?
I mean, come on. Did you see the animatronic of him at Galaxy's Edge?
I have not. I love Hondo. He's a fantastic, fun character. But honestly, seeing some of these characters in live action has not been the greatest. Most notably, Cad.
Oh, come on. Cad, yes, he didn't have the toothpick, but he looked pretty good.
And they got Corey Bird to do his voice still.
Yeah.
Which was good. Funny enough, I think the best live action appearance of any original animated character was Chopper. Chopper looked, sounded, and acted just like Chopper looked, sounded, and acted.
Well, because you know who.
But yeah, it was funny. The episode. What's that?
Yeah.
After the
So
episode, there were fans that had put they put their version of what CAD live action should look like, and it was like that's great.
yeah. Casey, I didn't hear much of what you said. You're
Casey, you're kind of breaking up a little. I didn't really hear your Cad Bane point at the end there.
It's okay. Just continue on.
All right.
Sorry, but what I was saying, what I was trying to say though was the animatronic of Hondo and Galaxy's Edge looks great, so they could easily pull him off in live action.
But even so, it's just the fact that even in animation, that's the one we're really breaking traditional. He showed up in all those animated shows, yet not this one.
Yeah, it's like well, there's only was he in he was in obviously Clone Wars and Rebels. Was he in if he wasn't in Tales of the Jedi, was he?
Well, no, because that's more like minimized to two characters, Jacob. That's why Hondo's not in that. But here's the thing, though.
Was he in the Resistance one or the the 2D the 2D Star Wars show that they did?
Well, that I don't know. No one really watched that one. I mean, myself, I'm sure some people watched it. I did not. I don't know if I assume he showed up, and I did not see him show up in that, but because I didn't watch it.
All right.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I caught the end of that. What were we talking about? Hondo being in?
Like I said, the Galaxy's Edge animatronic looks amazing. So I think they could really pull him off in live action.
See, my biggest thing is if Hondo comes in live action, he absolutely has to be voice acted by the original voice actor.
Well, they'll do that.
Like I said, they did that with Cad Bane. They got Corey Burton to voice him in his appearance in Boba Fett,
and they did it with Steve Blum.
Voicing. Oh yeah, he voiced. Oh yeah, he did. No, yeah, I completely forgot about that.
Yeah.
And of course, they also got Chopper to reprise his role.
Well, to be fair, he was actually the hardest get they've ever had. I'm shocked they were able to make Chopper. I gotta be honest. I would have bet you they would have recast the Chopper. I don't know what they were paying the voice of Chopper. But I assure you, whatever they paid the voice of Chopper, they overpaid. They probably paid in headwear.
Yeah, probably, and probably flightwear too. But who knows? Well, we all know that Chopper just played himself. So
okay, real quick though, in all seriousness though, it would be hilarious.
What?
If they did like Tales of the Smuggler, and you had that way one of your two stories would be Hondo. And it was more pirate, but it's just the fact of if you say smuggler, you might be able to get away with a pirate as well as on the flip side, just an actual legit smuggler.
That would be pretty fun, yeah.
I'm really hoping that Hondo makes an appearance in the new Star Wars Outlaws. I think that's the perfect opportunity to include him.
Yeah, it would be pretty cool. Are you gonna play? Is that a game you're gonna play, Dragon?
I mean, I don't know.
Did you play the Jedi games?
Well, no, I haven't played any of the Star Wars games.
Oh, the Jedi games are fantastic.
I mean, they look good. I mean, honestly, I still think I'd like to see that kid adapted into the Star Wars media we're getting now. But
I mean, I think Cameron Monaghan's all for it too.
Well, of course he is.
Yeah, as long as he gets a poncho.
Okay.
Yeah, that's his big thing.
It's like I noticed he's not wearing a poncho.
I loved all of the press coverage leading into the second game about the freaking poncho.
Yeah. And the game even does a little dance when you put on the poncho.
But yeah, those games stunned me how fantastic they were.
Yeah, they're pretty hard too if you play it on the normal difficulty.
Yeah, they are. I beat both of them on the normal difficulty.
Yeah, they're pretty hard. But yeah, we should probably get back to Bad Batch.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so yeah, even something like with bringing back Fennec Shan, the wonderful Ming Na Wen.
Yeah.
It's just an issue of like, okay, so Shan comes back, in a way that makes sense. It kind of goes full circle with her. But the adventure to get the information, you're going to help me, help me track this bounty. But it was not the most exciting kind of adventure to get the bounty.
It was kind of an interesting change of pace, where they had kind of like go through like almost looked like an Everglades or some kind of bog.
That's what I'm saying though. It's just that it just feels, I don't want to, not boring, but it just feels a little like not really eye catching. It just seems like we're adventuring through a bog and we're being attacked by like a being that's very monster like.
Kind of like the bog, like kind of like the bog alligators or crocodiles.
Yeah.
And I mean, heck, speaking of returning characters, and speaking of Cad Bane, he appears this season too.
Yes.
So what'd you make of his appearance this season?
Well, it was great. We even had like the little little helper droid that is voiced by Seth Green.
Yep, it's like when he captured an innocent little kid.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I was kind of hoping that when he took her, that when he brought Baron, I think the kid's name was. I think that's when he brought into there.
Yeah,
I was kind of hoping that Emery was kind of like would kind of fudge it a little bit and like try and like try and get him sent home or something. But no, unfortunately, that didn't happen. And that's the last we saw of Cad Bane this season. Like, he just shows up, gets a bounty, doesn't ask any questions, just leaves.
That's his style, though.
Yep. You never know when he's gonna show up.
When you least expect it.
Yes.
All right, let's see. So, let's see. So we already talked about the whole midichlorians thing. So that whole aspect there. How Omega is very key in like transferring into some force endowed clones.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I guess getting to our finale. So kind of like Omega. She surrenders to save the people of like this peaceful little hideaway they've been staying at, Pabu.
I think it's just Pabu.
Pabu. Reminds me of Korra.
Yep. That's my thought too.
Oh yeah. Anyway, so this peaceful kind of place, and it's up to the Bad Batch to save her from Tantus. Admittedly, a bit of we're going way back to the start of the season, kind of again, like another breakout. But it was different enough. We gave Omega a lot of agency before. She was like a guest who's kind of stuck there. Now she's very much a prisoner. It was a little different. We use Rampart to do so, which again kind of gets us back to full circle season one. The man who's responsible for a lot of the strife our guys went through. So this is the thing, though. This is where I get into my issue with the season, where again it's a lot of it's a lot of filler to get us back to the. I'm sorry, now I'm just realizing that maybe a lot of filler is too harsh, but it's still, we're getting some filler to get us back to this point where there's a couple episodes where we do have some necessary setup, and I think I kind of wish we took a few more chances here. Like, for example, there's one episode that was really interesting to me where we seemingly, the way the episode started, it was going to be like a Dr. Carr episode where it was going to be framed like, I thought we were going to do kind of what we did Mando season 3 with Dr. Pershing for a bit there. I thought we were going to follow her for the episode, just kind of get a sense of what's going on and like see what leads to her change of heart. But it's really just more of an openings. I mean, that to me, that's kind of a missed opportunity there. It's just a lot of like, we're kind of like, we have our interesting stuff inside, inside the facility, and Omega's prison break stuff and the whole force sensitive kids stuff. And on the flip side, it's like, and the Bad Batch are making their way there. And why am I not caring about this more? I just want them to get there. And when they get there, finally, all the good stuff happens, but it's a while getting there.
Yeah. It's kind of like saying that they put too much into the final episode. Or it took too long to get there.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's just getting along. It's taking a while to get there. Like when we get to the final episode, finally, it's like things we're getting a lot, or things are heating up. It's I don't know, it's just like taking like 3 episodes to get to that point. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, and it also helped to establish the kids though too. The other clone, the other kids.
Sure, which I think could have been accomplished just in the Dr. Carr episode, which we kind of did. We just didn't fully keep her in the character perspective. I think that would have really helped.
Oh well, we can't all be winners, can we?
Well, again, I'm not trying to come down the show or anything, but yeah, it's it's a gripe, you know. It's a very petty gripe, but you know.
Yeah, fair enough.
Let's see. So again, Omega though she rallies the other four sensitive subjects, and really some good tense scenes there too, like her sneaking back just right in the nick of time, like good timing on that.
Yeah, but I think Emery actually kind of suspected something, but had nothing to prove. Nothing to prove it with.
Yep. See, again, I've already kind of gushed like the climax itself, where the clones, the clones are going up against Hemlock, and of course Hemlock, by the way, Jimmy Simpson playing him, good actor. Of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia fame, a little bit of Psych. He's been in things.
Yeah, Hemlock was an interesting villain.
Wait,
Oh,
who
yeah,
did him?
Hemlock
Who did
is a
he
great
play in
villain.
Sunny?
Yeah, he's one of the is it McPoyle brothers? Am I saying that right? The McPoyle brothers.
What? Really?
Yeah. He's the main brother, the one who loses the eye. And he was in
Oh
Psych
my
too. He played
gosh.
Marion in Psych, the one that that tipped Sean off about the serial killer.
Wow! Holy
Yeah, that's
crap!
him. That's Jimmy Simpson. That is him. He's in a bunch of other stuff too. He was in like the White House movie with the one Channing Tatum. White House Down, is that the Gerard Butler one? There's two White House movies. No, okay,
That's
Olympus Has
no, it's
Fallen
white.
is
It's
the other
white.
one. It is
Yeah,
White House
it
Down.
is White House Down. Wow!
Yeah, so
Holy crap.
he's like the hacker guy from Die Hard in that one. He's like the guy hacking he's in that as well. That is also him.
Honestly, like I can't believe I didn't know that.
Everyone underestimates the acting chops on this guy, and I think Hemlock really shows he can really play a good villain. He's not just playing like a campy villain.
Yeah, I very much enjoyed Hemlock as the series villain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think like he was kind of an interesting kind of take on that. Like it's like another like kind of like an intellectual kind of villain to the Bad Batch's more reckless nature.
Yeah.
A good contrast.
Yeah.
But yeah, so again, I love the climax in the rain. I love Crosshair, saving the day with the single shot. Like Omega, like just the trust they have in Omega and Hunter, very much being the proud papa in the situation. You're like, she's got it. She knows what to do. Just take that shot. You can do this.
One of my favorite interactions though is like when she freed the Zillow Beast, and first thing Echo's like, she freed the Echo Beast. How do you know? Because that's something I would do.
Omega, not Echo.
And I was like, that's what I just said. I said Omega freed the Echo Beast, the Zillow Beast. That's what I said. But Echo's the one that said that's something I would do.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
But then like later on, is like Crosshair asks, is that something Echo would do or Omega? And both Hunter and Wrecker are like Omega.
Yep.
they instantly know it's Omega.
It's just nice they think they each got like an opportunity to shine during that. Anyway, yeah, sorry, Casey, what were you saying?
No, I agree with you. I actually got to admit, so a couple episodes before the episode before the finale, when they showed the Zillow Beast again, I got to be honest, I totally in the moment didn't know what that was, and I had to like stop and think about it after the episode, and I looked it up, and I was like, oh my gosh, that is the Zillow Beast. Because I totally forgot that was even a thing.
Yeah. It was kind of cool to see it again one last time.
Yep.
It's just interesting that it did kind of come back like in a full circle situation.
Yeah, so and of course it makes sense for Omega to free it anyway.
Yeah, she's an animal lover after all. Look at Thatcher.
Yep. Batcher's no Zillow Beast, but
She'll
Jesus.
do.
Yeah, she'll do.
That'll do, Batcher. That'll do.
We have another comment from Travis Mitchell saying, one issue with was the last 2 episodes before the finale were largely the same for the batch goes to get Tantus, Omega mess with the wall, Omega said to Dave says, I have a plan. Is that basically what you were talking about earlier, Dragon?
I mean, I think it kind of summarized it. If I'm reading my signs right there, he's saying like the Omega stuff is better than the Bad Batch getting to Tansis. Then yeah, I agree with that.
So that's part of the reason why I think it would have been really nice had they maybe had a 4th season and the 4th. I don't know. I just kind of wish it was broken up a little bit differently because I feel like that final season had like 3 arcs that went through it. It was everything on Tantus, and then the escape, and then the getting back to normal, but then getting back to normal very quickly reverted, her getting captured, and then it was like getting her off Tantus again.
Yeah.
Casey, how much of it do you think was like this was like a plan? Like they want to end it like a certain number of episodes, kind of have like a 3-act structure, 3 seasons, or how much of it do you think is they're shutting the lights off on our extended Star Wars projects, and we got to end a little sooner than we would have hoped?
See, I would like to have faith, especially in Filoni, and think that it truly was all planned out this way. But I feel like the 3rd season, especially by contrast of the first 2 seasons, something just felt different about it. Something felt not necessarily rushed, but also rushed. Which makes me think that maybe they did have to kind of speed things up. But like I said, I would like to have faith in Filoni, in thinking that maybe this was the plan all along.
I don't think that. For all we know, there's really no way to know, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, unless something comes out, but I mean, it was still structured enough that I could believe this was the plan. But like I said, just by contrast of the first 2 seasons, it just was, it felt a lot different.
Yeah.
It was a little bit more streamlined. Of course, you still had an episode here, an episode there that was filler, but not very, much compared to the fun adventures of the first 2.
But it did.
But I still do think in the first season, the final 2 episodes are like the best of the series.
But even after all that, I think this still was a satisfying enough conclusion of the series, nonetheless.
Yeah, it definitely was, especially with the epilogue.
So let's talk about that. Unless Dragon, you think there's something else we need to go over first?
No, just like things are. We have like essentially our ending is things are kind of peaceful on Pabu. We set up Project Stardust, which I think is the Death Star.
It is, yeah. That's what Galen called his daughter, Stardust.
Right.
Which was the code name for the project.
Yeah, so again, we have kind of our ending where they're done their battling, they're kind of like outside of the conflict now, and then we do our post credit kind of less post credit, more epilogue. We don't have our epilogue, so what do you got?
Which there is, I'll say with that too, the death of Hemlock. So in a sense, because now all the necromancer funding went to Stardust, the Bad Batch inadvertently caused the speedy production of the Death Star.
So the Bad Batch are almost responsible for the Rebels' victory.
Yeah, both the Death Star being completed and a lot of lives being lost, but also literally with the perfect opportune moment for the Rebels to kind of strike when they did. But yeah, with the whole epilogue, nice and short, it was really cool to see that like they kind of lived out their lives, and a number of the other people got to live out their lives on Pabu, and we unfortunately did not get to see older Crosshair and Wrecker, but it was a nice scene between essentially a father and their daughter, and seeing that Omega was instrumental, or not instrumental, but she joins the rebellion, and I'm sure which leads to the possibility of a cool spin-off. So I thought it was kind of short and it was sweet, but it was to the point without it being like too much.
Yeah, makes sense.
I like the intimacy of the scene. I love that, it's very much, again, Hunter is kind of, again, sort of the, again, kind of like, even if genetically the ages are technically reversed, is the fact that, she's all grown up now, Hunter's in the winter of his years. It's very much kind of the older brother, more so, like, I think thematically, it's like he's the proud papa, he's seeing her go off. It feels very much like, in kind of like he was always very much a paternal relationship with Omega.
Yeah, he pretty much was her father figure on there. Like the others were kind of like her older brothers, but he was more of her father figure.
Yeah, like, honestly, I think Crosshairs felt most like the brother, and Wrecker was kind of like it's not brother, then crazy uncle, and then you have Hunter.
I mean, I always kind of felt that like Crosshair was kind of like the uncle.
I mean, maybe, but I don't know. But
Either
I'm
that,
saying much she went to bat for him a lot. So I'd say like he was more oddly he was the little brother of the group.
And or would you say like Wrecker would be like the fun uncle?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's up to interpretation, obviously, but regardless, it just seems like very much kind of like like the kid flying the nest for a greater cause. She's fighting her own battle. She's growing up to basically kind of invest in her own war there. So it's something.
In other words, the badge's training paid off.
Yeah, so it's so there's something really sweet about it too. Just like she's taking up the cause and he's proud of her.
And their training ultimately paid off.
Yeah,
she's now a good soldier on her own terms.
Yep.
But yeah, seeing that one final interaction between them was kind of bittersweet, but ultimately satisfying.
And you know what,
Yeah.
though, it does feel appropriate that we're gonna end on like both clones, or it's very much sort of this, the it all with the Bad Batch, it's very much it's kind of like the clone aspect of Clone Wars. It's very much like our Jango Fett clone, and we have like the Alpha and the Omega is what we end on, and very much the Bad Batch series is predicated on these two. So it feels right that at least we kind of end on one specific, like Django clone, and then the Omega version of that.
And if you don't count like the Tales series, like Tales of the Jedi and now Tales of the Empire, it's like if you don't count those as part of the Clone Wars series, this is pretty much the end of an era.
Well, it's the end of the prequel era too. Like that's the big thing. Like this year is actually the 25th anniversary. With Phantom Menace, it's where it all started. So if you look at it that way, it's like this is the closing of the book. This is the I mean, for all intents and purposes, going forward in Star Wars, all the other stuff we're doing, it's essentially like stuff that's not necessarily like prequel-y stuff. And like Andor's in that weird place where it's not really a prequel because it's kind of in the it's in the Rogue One space. So
like immediately before Episode 4.
Yeah, so that's more of like it's like kind of like a prequel in the technical sense, but not like like really like prequel set stuff. And the Acolyte is kind of like doesn't really count because that's like way back in the day.
Yep.
It's like a pre-sequel.
Yeah.
I guess that would be the classification.
I don't know if that's accurate, but maybe.
Close
Well,
enough.
like if you think about it, you have the original trilogy. The sequel trilogy obviously takes place before. You have the prequel trilogy, but then you have the pre-sequel trilogy. That's the sequel to the prequel trilogy.
It's like the original trilogy, prequel trilogy, sequel trilogy.
Yeah, but it's going like further back though. But I mean, I guess.
It's like,
Well, I was referring not to the Acolyte stuff. I'm referring to the Bad Batch. Rogue
Oh
One,
yeah, well no, I thought
stuff.
so. I thought you were talking the Acolyte. Yeah, the Acolyte's why I was on.
No,
in that case, it does actually, yeah.
I mean, this pretty much is like in the 3.1, 3.5 era.
Yeah.
But I guess to be super fair though, the Acolyte I wouldn't even classify it as anything because all of the prequel, sequel, original, and the pre-sequel stuff is all the Skywalker saga, whereas the Acolyte's its own thing. Which I
Yeah.
gotta say, look, I love Star Wars, I really do, but I am a little tired of all the Skywalker stuff. Like I'm excited for the Acolyte. I've been waiting years. I've been saying it for years, even before Disney bought it. Like, where is the ancient stuff? Where is the Old Republic stuff? There was so much expanded universe, books and comics and media and video games that had these really rich stories that never got adapted or told. And now we're finally getting something pre Skywalker saga.
It would be. Yeah, it is kind of exciting to see where that would go.
Yeah. Also, going back to the whole epilogue thing, Michelle Ang, who voices Omega, she did recently say in an interview that the ending of Bad Batch was a little bit different, and that Omega was on a different path where she would actually be a major player in the Star Wars canon. But I guess somewhere in the final months, they changed the ending to what we got now, which is, a little bittersweet.
Yeah, but I'm sure they had a reason for it.
Yeah, which makes me think that they actually did have some sort of idea of an Omega spinoff. But you know what? I'm also, while it is set up to for Omega to have her own spinoff, I definitely feel like I'm 1000% fine if we don't see anything with Omega. There's so many people a part of the rebellion. If she was just another fighter and a non-instrumental player, I think that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, me too. All right, so do you think that does it?
I think that about does it. I think we've closed the book on the Bad Batch. We should thank the folks who tuned in.
Travis Mitchell, Little Blue, CG, Kogias for a little bit, Warp Monarch. So yeah, thank you guys. It's been quite a wild 3 seasons with these guys, with Clone Troop 99. It's kind of bittersweet that we won't be seeing any more of them, or seemingly anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, again, it's a little early. We want to wish you all we want to say, may the 4th be with you.
Yes.
All right, so that'll do it for us tonight.
Good night, everyone.
As we holster our remotes till the next installment calls for the draw, just mano a mano, just plus and us.
The cavalry has left.